Dear Diary, I sit by the window with Titan by my side, staring out at the glowing green crystals that seem to awaken with the night. The sun has just slipped beneath the horizon, casting a deep purple over the landscape. It's strange how they only light up after sunset. We brought them back from the outer edges of the planet, studying their potential to store and generate energy. But we never understood why they stayed dormant during the day. They pulse gently now, like the heartbeat of the land itself. Part of our mission was to harness these crystals, to figure out how they could sustain life here, or even save the Earth. But something still feels off. They behave differently than anything we ever anticipated. Like they're part of something bigger, something we still don't see. It's not just the crystals. The entire planet seems to come alive when the sun goes down. I've only started to notice it recently. How the plants begin to glow and move. How the air seems to shift, as if it's breathing with the darkness. It's unsettling how quiet and still everything is during the day. But at night, it's like the planet wakes up. And the aliens, they've only started coming closer in the past few weeks. I thought I was imagining it. Just distant shadows, shapes moving on the horizon. But every night now, they appear, always in the distance, always watching. I don't know why they come, or what they want. They've never tried to approach, never made any contact, but their presence is undeniable. Titan feels it too. He's the first to notice them, always growling low when they arrive. It's almost as if they're studying me, waiting for something. What that could be, I have no idea. But it makes me wonder, why now? Why, after all this time, are they watching me so closely? It's like the whole planet shifts after dark, like everything that lives here belongs to the night. The crystals, the plants, the aliens, they all come alive when the light fades. And I'm left here, in the middle of it all, trying to make sense of a world that feels like it's hiding its true nature until I'm vulnerable enough to see it. I move quietly down the corridor, with Titan pacing beside me, his nose twitching as he senses something in the air. We pass the large window, where the crystals outside are glowing more brightly now, casting their light against the glass. Their soft green shimmer reflects off the dark outlines of trees in the distance, adding an eerie contrast to the landscape. I pause, pulling out my camera, and capture the sight. The glowing plants that surround the base. They look almost serene, but something about them feels off, like they belong to the night. These plants, I whisper softly, lowering the camera. We thought they would be our answer, the key to thriving here. I stare at the strange, luminous forms. Now, I'm not so sure. They seem to belong to this planet's darkness, like everything else. I move down the corridor, my steps slow and deliberate. Titan pacing beside me, his nose twitching at the faint electric hum of the base. There's something in the air tonight, a tension that makes the metal walls feel colder, more oppressive. We pass the large window again, the crystals outside glowing brighter now, casting long, eerie shadows across the floor. The trees in the distance stand still and quiet, their dark silhouettes barely visible against the deep violet sky. I stop by the window, staring at the glowing plants. They seem so serene, so harmless in their soft green light. But there's an underlying discomfort every time I look at them. I raise my camera, framing the image carefully, and capture the scene outside, the luminous flora against the alien landscape. I shake my head slightly, watching the glowing tendrils sway gently in the breeze. I move quietly down the corridor again, my fingers tracing the cold metal walls as I walk. Titan's growl brings me back to the present. His ears flat, his attention locked on something ahead. My heart races. There's always a subtle warning when the aliens approach, an instinctual sense of danger. But this time, there's something different, an unusual heaviness in the air. I stop at the end of the hall, and that's when I see it. A dark figure, tall and otherworldly, stands just outside the door. It's one of them. My body tenses, my breath catching in my throat. The alien moves forward, slowly, deliberately, bending down in front of the door. Every movement it makes is unnaturally smooth, as if gravity has no hold over it. Titan's growl deepens, his body rigid with tension, but he doesn't move. He just watches. The alien places something on the ground. I can't make it out from where I stand, but it glows faintly against the shadows. A small, delicate object. My heart pounds harder. Why are they coming so close now? They've never ventured this far before. The distance between us was always maintained, like an unspoken agreement. But now, the boundary is broken. I watch, frozen, as the alien straightens and looks directly toward me. It shouldn't be able to see me. There's no way it knows I'm standing here behind layers of reinforced glass. But the way it tilts its head, the slow, deliberate nature of its movements, it feels like it knows exactly where I am. It stands there for what feels like an eternity, just staring, as if waiting for me to understand something I can't quite grasp. And then, without warning, it turns and moves away, disappearing into the shadows with that same unnerving fluidity. The sight of its departure sends a chill through me. It's the way it moved, the way it stood there, looking right at me, as if it could see me through the walls of the base. It knew I was watching. It's impossible, and yet, that's what terrifies me. I take a deep breath, my gaze shifting to the object it left behind. It's a flower, Titan, and I know instantly it's meant for me. Whatever it is, they want me to have it. Everything about this moment feels wrong, and yet, I have to know. I can't ignore it. I slip into my suit with shaky hands, sealing the helmet in place. Titan following closely. I make my way to the airlock. The door hisses open, and the cold alien air hits my face. The flower lies just outside, glowing faintly in the darkness. I kneel down, fingers trembling as I reach for the flower. The petals are soft, unnaturally perfect. And as I turn it over in my hands, I see it. Small, intricate symbols carved into the petals. Symbols I don't recognize, but there's something familiar about them. Something deliberate. I stand slowly, holding the flower closer to examine it. Every line, every detail is too precise. I head down the corridor, the flower still on my mind, cradled carefully in my gloved hands. Titan follows close behind, his paws patting softly on the metal floor, sensing the tension in the air. The dim lights flicker overhead, casting long shadows on the walls as we approach the research room. Once inside, I set the flower down on the metal table, right under the scanner. The faint glow it emits pulses gently, almost as if it's alive in a way no plant on Earth ever could be. For a moment, I just stare at it, my breath caught in my throat. I've seen so many strange things on this planet, things I can't explain, but this flower is different. It feels deliberate. I start by running the most basic tests, sliding the scanner over the petals, logging the data into my tablet. As the device hums, I realize how perfectly suited this flower is for my equipment. It fits like a puzzle piece, like it was designed specifically for this base, for my instruments. But how? How could they know? I whisper to myself, my hands trembling slightly. The readings are unlike anything I've seen. The structure of the flower, its cellular composition, is so complex, so precise, that it feels manufactured. I blink, leaning closer to the screen, trying to make sense of the data. I run more tests, this time pulling out the spectrometer to analyze the wavelengths the flower emits. It's a routine process, one I've done countless times before. But with each step, my unease grows. The results seem to anticipate my actions, as though the flower knows what I'm going to do before I do it. Every piece of equipment I use seems tailor-made for this process, and the information unfolds too smoothly, too perfectly. The next test is genetic. I extract a tiny sample, barely a sliver of a petal, and place it under the microscope. What I see makes me stop breathing for a moment. The DNA strands are wrong, or rather, they're too right. They aren't like any alien plant I've studied before. The sequence seems deliberate. There's a pattern, something I can't fully comprehend yet, but it's there. The DNA has been manipulated, engineered. This isn't just a plant. It's a message. I glance over at Titan, who's now sitting in the corner, watching me intently. He senses my unease, but for once, he's calm, as if he knows something I don't. I turn back to the flower, pulling up the results on my screen. I can't stop my mind from racing. How could they have known the exact sequence of tests I would run? How could they predict the precise tools I would use? The more I think about it, the more impossible it seems. These creatures, they're not just intelligent. They're beyond anything we've ever encountered. They knew my methods, my equipment. They know me. I feel a chill creep down my spine. Do they know everything about me? The thought lingers in the air, heavy with dread. Are they watching me, studying me as I study them? How could they possibly know my exact process, down to the last detail? With trembling fingers, I begin decoding the pattern I see in the DNA. It's slow at first, each step feeling like I'm following a trail left specifically for me. every answer leads to another. And it's all there, laid out in a way that's both fascinating and terrifying. The precision is staggering. They knew how I'd decode this. They knew what tools I'd use. Every single step has been anticipated. It's going to take hours to piece together. The lights in the room dim slightly as the base switches to nighttime mode. The only illumination coming from the screens in front of me and the faint glow of the flower. Then I see it. The final sequence clicks into place, the code unraveling before my eyes. It's not a plant. It's a map. My heart races as I realize what I'm looking at. Its coordinates tighten, hidden within the genetic makeup of the flower, left there for me to find. How is this even possible? There's no GPS satellite near this planet. Titan tilts his head. I exhale slowly, leaning back in my chair, my mind spinning with the implications. These coordinates, they could lead anywhere. Why would they give me this? Every part of me screams not to follow this trail, not to give in to the lure of the unknown. But how can I not? The weight of the flower in my hands feels heavier now, like it holds something far greater than I ever anticipated. Whoever, or whatever, created this flower has an intelligence far surpassing anything I've ever encountered. They knew I would find it, knew exactly how I would decipher the message. And now, they're waiting. I stand up slowly, my legs shaky from hours of sitting, and Titan immediately rises with me, as if he senses it's time to move. I can't let this sit any longer. Whatever these coordinates lead to, I need to know. With deliberate movements, I gather my tools and prepare to head outside. I reach for my suit, knowing I'll need it to venture beyond the base's protective barrier. The door hisses open as I step into the airlock. The cool night air hits me as I open the outer door, stepping into the alien landscape once more. The flower still glows faintly in the distance, a beacon in the darkness. As I walk towards the edge of the base, where the first of the trees begin to rise from the ground, I can't shake the feeling that I'm not just walking into the unknown. I'm walking into a trap. But it's a trap I have to spring. I can't turn back now.